Hello. It's CK here, back with another video. We're doing revisiting our predictions. I'm sorry, I'm only a bit awkward because I forgot which one was the intro, but I'm here with Karen and George. How you guys doing?
Good,
This
brother.
guy
Good.
legit had to play the intro to remember what the intro was before we got
Yeah, I
started. This
completely
guy,
forgot.
man,
We haven't been here for a long time.
completely forgot. But yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm just chilling. We're doing business. We'll recap that on the transfer special, and we've got if we do get an announcement next week, I'm chilling. But let's get into this because we had some howlers, we had some good predictions. So let's see what we got.
Yeah,
No, I'm
we did
excited.
this.
I'm excited, man. It's just I like looking at these predictions because it's just a little bit of fun for everybody to kind of go back, see what we got right, see what we got wrong. Couple nice clips that we got right for sure. Some things that we can got very, very wrong as well. So no, I'm very excited to look back on it too. And
So
yeah.
before we get into the full predictions and everything, off the top of your head, what do you think was your best prediction throughout the season, before the season? What do you think was your best prediction?
Prop player wise, it's got to be the Varane and the Ben White um, comparisons. Because from day dot, it was just that Varane was not going to cut it in the Premier League, and that I think Ben White would have not only outdone his price tag, but he would have also outdone um, or justify his price tag a lot more than Varane, and just the fact that Ben White would have been a better player, and I think that was very clear from anybody that really saw Varane last year and even in the Champions League when he was coming overseas. He wasn't the same player. So, but nonetheless, everybody popular wise was very, very convinced that, Ben White was going to be poor. And I think a lot of it had to do with the Saliba stuff. And, with Saliba confirmed being with us next year, I'm hoping that ship can sail. Like, I'm really done with everybody kind of choosing player stands and sides because of it. Because I think that's the main reason nobody rated Ben White. But, he was immense for
But
us
that's
this
never gonna
season.
end though. That's never gonna end. Twitter is
No, it
a
will
thing.
when
It's a
they
mind of
start
its own.
together. I think it will when they start together. When people start to realize that they're all going to start together and, it's a little bit more of a master plan than just choosing one person. Because I think current mate, like the biggest thing is we have to get used to getting better acquainted with squads. As we get better, as Arsenal get better, you can't be choosing starting 11 and players. You have to have a squad to start to win titles. And I think that transition is what everyone's struggling with because they want the standards. Everybody wants the standards, but then when the standards come and you start recruiting multiple players, they're like, but Arsenal can't have multiple good players in multiple positions. And it's just
Mm.
we're seeing that now with Rafinha. We're seeing that now with the transfer links. Even though I'm not a huge fan of all of the specific moves that we make, ultimately we've got a squad. Like what's very clear is they are being very aggressive in the market to really make sure that this team never has to drop off in quality again, and that's encouraging. So, but yeah, no, in terms of the predictions, I think the Varane call was probably one of the best. And maybe side note, shout out to the Kai Havertz and ESR shouts that I had very early on in the season, talking about who would have a better season, who would continue to adapt. That's always fun. When rivals think they know better and all of the disingenuous smiling that was happening there. So we all saw who had a much better season, Mr. Emil Smith Rowe, and he's only getting started. So yeah, I think it's between those two for me.
Yeah. Um, I'll go before Karen goes because I know mine. Actually, I think so. I've got a couple. So one was me predicting that. Well, this is random. I predicted that Chelsea would lose to Man City 1-0 and Jesus would score, and he did. So that's one of mine. I think obviously United being underperforming. Obviously Sancho was a scapegoat for a lot of it. Then Ronaldo became the scapegoat, um, and then they just realized they were rubbish. Simply because initially you always want someone to blame, but then eventually you have to realize you're just rubbish. Just like Arsenal fans, it took them a long time to realize we're just rubbish right now. So yeah, I think obviously Ronaldo, he scored 17 league goals.
Hmm.
I think 17. No one else on their team got 10 apart from him. Bruno was poor. Pogba got 7 assists and disappeared the rest of the season. Sancho, I knew Sancho would play poorly, but I didn't think he'd have less
This
goals
bad.
than Gabriel. Yeah, he had less goals than Gabriel. I thought he'd be very poor just because coming into a team so poor. A player like him needs very good like situation to thrive, and then seeing the United team, it wasn't good. So he had 3 goals, and Nketiah had 5. Like I said, had more than him. Gabriel had more goals than him. So many players, but yeah, I think what else did I? What else? No, there's not much else in the Premier League, anyways, that I predicted. What about you, Karen? What was your best prediction?
I think the Man United midfield position that I was constantly harping on about for about 9 months of the whole season, the fact that you can't win any sort of title, top 4 race, whatever you want to put it, without a vacated midfield, and it was very evident that they weren't good. I think you can see even with the manager change and the harping on about how we need to take them serious because they've got a manager who hasn't managed at a senior level for more than I think 3 years in the last 13 or something like that. Has won a DFP Pokal, and apparently he's meant to be the best thing in the world, but has now left even when he's meant to do the job that he was hired for. I find that hilarious. But I think Bruno as well. I think a lot of I mentioned quite early on that you can't have someone that relies so heavily on ball striking without any awareness of how to play the game of football and have them be a center point of your attacking philosophy. And I think Man United in general. I think. What else? I mean, I think that's the main one. Not mentioned many else. I think I called all 3 of the relegation candidates to go down as well. So I think that was quite good.
Before we get into like all the table stuff, and what was your worst prediction?
Us being City. I think us being City. I think that was bad. I thought Pep would take it easy on us, and he did not. He smashed us 5-0. So
actually, you know what? We had this too. I remember that was a good one. We always
they had injuries.
They had injuries, but Thomas Frank was on a madness, and if they didn't have as much injuries, they would have been well up the table. So yeah, Brentford being really solid was something that we were big fans of on the channel. You know, Brentford, proper modern club that had really good structure. So yeah, we were pretty similar.
Innovation, very innovative.
Okay, look, I'll be honest. I think the worst one has to be Leicester or Leeds, and Leeds is a little bit less because of injuries that they sustained. It's kind of unfair, really, looking at their season. If anybody
Maybe
had
Everton
an unfair season, Everton could be there, but I think that prediction changed for me when they got Frank Lampard, and we kind of said it in January that they would be very likely relegated, and we were talking about this on a space here at Bot for a while. So once they got Lampard, that's something you couldn't foresee the start of the season. But I'd say Leeds or Leicester were probably amongst the biggest ones, because Leicester is also not just in terms of where they finish, but the targets too, in terms of who that they signed and who went out. You guys know that James Maddison still ended up having a 30-goal and assist season at the end of the season, and no one's talking about it. Like, it's crazy. But that team has really struggled with Brendan Rodgers. I think they've run its course in terms of messaging. I don't think that Brendan Rodgers can get anything else out of that team. But the targets that they signed, Boubacar Soumaré, big fans here of him, didn't really play a massive role.
He didn't.
Fofana, with his injury stuff coming back in, I don't know if he necessarily stabilized that ship towards the end of the season. It really was more of James Maddison having an output king. And that entire team has a lot of good players. Harvey Barnes, there's a lot of players. Kieran Dewsbury Hall, like there are players there.
He even got a new contract.
Yeah, until like June 2027, which is madness to me. But look, like that's a team that I don't think justifies where they finished in the table. I think ultimately, if you had to look, it's between them and United being the worst in terms of where they entered the season, about where they would be, and then where they ended. I mean, United, I kind of group for us as a BOP channel was a major pro in terms of our predictions. We all kind of talked about it at length about every video. I remember back pre-August, even in July, when
we had a whole video of just me going through the schedule of like we had a lot of stuff on United because
it was
they weren't good.
They weren't
They're
good.
shit.
Yeah,
They are
it
shit.
really was. It was very predictable for United, but I think probably you have to debate between Leicester, Leeds. Everton deserves a shout just because of where they went, but again, I always say Frank Lampard, that was always going to fall for me. But between them, I'd probably say Leicester's probably the worst one out of everybody. I'll be honest, because their squad quality, they should have absolutely challenged for Europe a lot more heavily. Um, Maybe the surprise of the season, I think what we all did maybe say or think was, Crystal Palace being, Chris, we always said it was like the B team of what, somebody that you really followed. I don't know if they ended up doing as great, I'll be honest, as what we originally thought.
They should have finished top 10.
They should have, but they didn't. And they finished par, like, for the course. Like, for
They
me,
finished 12.
they finished about where I would have expected them to finish on the table. For me, I would have hoped, given what they were doing earlier on in the season and what everybody talks about Palace, I think they should have finished a little bit higher with their attacking talent.
They didn't kill off teams, and part to blame was Vieira because he always either took off Olise when he started the game, or he didn't start him at all. Because like versus Everton, for example, when the scandal, when he hit a fan,
Yeah.
all that stuff, they were 2-0 up at half time and they lost 3-2. Like, you can't justify that. Like, you shouldn't be losing 3-2 to a relegation team. Like, you're up 2-0 in 50 minutes, 2-0. You shouldn't lose that game, but they did. Stuff like that kept happening to them throughout the season. Obviously, they beat us 3-0, but apart from that, the end of their season was very poor. So they could have finished 10th, 9th, like Brighton. Like, Brighton was 9th. Newcastle obviously were the best team in this. Apart from Man City and Liverpool, they were the best team in the second half of this. From 2022, they were the best team in the league. So that's what got them to what.
I kind of want to
11th.
focus on Newcastle just for a little bit, because I think it's not just the takeover, but Eddie Howe deserves credit. And it wasn't just players
sure.
that they recruited that got them there, because I think it's a coach, by the way, that was much maligned at Bournemouth. But I always likened Eddie Howe to kind of a B-Tech Carlo Ancelotti. He's somebody that's a balancer.
Cow,
He's that balancer type of coach. He's that kind of person that knows how to put an attack together. He showed it at Bournemouth. He showed an attacking philosophy and build-up that he was able to translate. And, he put everybody in a position to thrive. I don't think he did anything special with Newcastle, but he made sure that there was nothing weird going on. They recruited well. I still think they're recruiting well. I think they've got Sven Botman pretty much signed, sealed, delivered. They've got Nick Pope as well.
You got Ekitike.
Well,
That is my
I don't
boy.
know what's happening with that, because he seems to be a little bit, yay or nay on that transfer.
That is one of my favorite players outside of the Premier League.
But that's good recruitment. Like, when you start really lining that stuff up, guys, like, they start to have a pretty serious team
Well,
if you really look at it at the back half of the season. And again, I've always felt that Joe Linton at center mid was excellent. I still laugh at hearing
for
that
the win.
statement. But then,
but since he became centre mid, he's won the most goals in the league, which is crazy to me. But
yeah,
since he did become a centre mid, he's been good.
he's been very good still. And then when you look at it, Callum Wilson with Alan St. Maximin, that's dangerous. If they can get a really solid, right wing option, I'd probably want somebody else in defensive midfield for them. And then probably a couple more defenders. I think that's really the crux of their team rebuild. And we've talked about it kind of earlier on in the season, but I think Newcastle deserve credit. I don't think it's just the balance of the takeover. And I think a lot of people just assumed takeover news means, pseudo that they're going to end up having a great season. And if they end up getting Moussa Diaby, that's a serious front three. It is. It's got excellent profiling on them. It's got an outlet in Diaby. It's got somebody that's close feet control in Alan St. Maximin, and a bully presence at Callum Wilson up top. So, those are very smart moves. Yeah, and I just don't think it's Saudi money. I think you still have to make the good moves. And didn't they get Dan Ashworth, by the way, who I think is one of the steals of the window? When you're talking about sporting directors, and stealing that from Brighton is phenomenal. So Newcastle, I think, are definitely somebody to watch, and not just because they have money now, but because they're making very, very smart decisions.
They're
and
not
Dan
doing
Ashworth,
like a Joe, you know what I mean? They're not doing a Joe, or like, in the early City era with
not to kill them, but they're not doing a United. They're not doing an Everton. They're spending smartly, and they're doing it with
Everton.
That
if
know
you
what
want
they're
Maitland
doing.
Niles, we can talk. Just drop 40 million. We're good. Just English guy played for Arsenal. You know what I mean? Alex
I
Wood
just saw that Ronaldo's Chelsea thing, and he's having a meeting with what's his name, Todd Bowley,
Todd Bowley.
yeah, and Mendes, which is crazy. But if that deal happens, it just doesn't. Why would you go from what's his name, Lukaku loan, which is another crazy deal that we're gonna talk about sometime next week. Pogba left as well, so why would you go get rid of Lukaku to get Ronaldo, who at 37,
Vibes in it.
500k a week would be one of the dumbest deal. If I know, it would be a great deal. It would be a great transfer for the league for him to come to
What do
London.
you think the fee would be?
Well, United going for like 25 million, was it 20 million? I don't know.
It'll probably be more. It'll probably be more. Maybe like 30. Imagine we paid less for someone our fans really want in Tielemans than we did than they do for Ronaldo.
Well, that deal would be crazy, but less on transfers because we're not here for that. What? Because I just want to prolong getting into the tables. I don't know why, but I do.
What do you think is
What
the
did
best
you guys both
signing
had? You both guys
overall
both had
of the
Emil for
season?
thingy.
Oh
Sorry.
yeah, Player of the Year.
Well,
No, he had Party. I had Emil. You had Saka.
for
I'm
Arsenal,
pretty
you
sure
mean?
For the league Young
Yeah.
Player of the Year, we all voted Saka. Which
we all voted
which
Saka.
Imagine.
Should have been.
No. Facts. We have that was the biggest white privilege I've ever seen in my life. I've got to be the one to say that. But it's not even just that. We all know how the game. Whoever wins the title essentially gets that title, whether it's biggest
But
player, young.
not many people have won it. Like Young Player of the Year twice. Like he's one of like 4 players to ever win it twice. And last year he definitely deserved it. He was probably the best young player in the league. But
Last year
this
was
year
fine, but
it should have been Saka or the only other player should have been Trent for me.
Yeah.
Because obviously,
Do you not find it funny that Declan was involved in that?
he wasn't
No,
he wasn't nominated.
He had a great season. Declan Rice deserved to be in there with a shout. He had a very good
No,
season.
no. But in terms of young player, I found it crazy that he was considered a young player.
Okay, so do you guys?
He is
think...
no, but it's not. He's younger than Trent though. He's younger than Trent. He's younger than Mount. He's younger than all of them. Trent, Mount, Ramsdale. He's younger than them.
Yeah.
Yeah, Declan Rice is younger than Trent, Mount, Ramsdale, all of them.
That's mad.
And Foden is even younger. He's only older than the only one younger than
Chelsea. Let us get 2023 in it. Just calm down, Chelsea. Just we'll come.
No, but like, with that, Foden, I don't even think should have been one of the last 8 or last 6, whatever it was.
I don't think so either.
So many players better than him. Guehi should have been there. Guehi wasn't considered. Tyreek Mitchell was obviously there, but Guehi should have been ahead of him. Even Livramento had a better season than him. A lot of youngsters had a better season than him. But obviously they won the league. But even Trent should have been way ahead of him.
I would honestly have Armando Braga over him.
What about the player of the season? Because what's his name? De Bruyne won it, right?
I just feel like there's no one. There was no
I don't know
outstanding candidate.
But I didn't find that there was one player that was consistent from the beginning of the season to the end of the season that necessarily deserved it. There was different.
I think for me, like De Bruyne obviously came back, and the last third of the season he was the best player in the league.
March
hands down. Yeah, March to the end of the season he was the best player in the league.
But September to November it was Bernardo Silva.
Yeah, for their team, and then for me, I would have but they just give it to whoever wins the league nowadays. I would have given it to Alisson because I think.
Yeah, me too.
He saved Liverpool so much from maybe not the first month.
We would have
the
beat
season,
them at home if it wasn't for
he was
incredible
throughout the whole season. Like, even in the Wolves game on the last day where they could have won the league, he saved them a lot of time. So for me, Alisson was the player of the season. But obviously, whoever is the best player on the best team.
The perfect example is when they came to the Emirates and Odegaard had that 1-on-1. Alisson saved it and they go up and score. Legit the next minute or so.
Alisson
he did that so many times. Like he kept them in the game, and then they just go and win.
If you look at like save percentages, though, like Alisson was the one keeper that has saved the most points, but not just saves for keepers in general across the top 5 leagues. I think John Harrison was doing a really good thing when he was looking at the expected save percentages, and Alisson is the one that basically is one of the best sweeper keepers in the world.
He is the best in my opinion.
Yeah, and when you look at it, it's not even just it's something that I think Ramsdale could really look to learn. But it's this idea of closing space. Like Allison does excellent in
His
terms of guiding
positioning
you.
is incredible.
Well, positioning, but also meeting a marker like 1v1. I've never seen a keeper cut down angles so quick and so well, and that's like a serious skill. It's I think something that is why he's so overlooked. In general, like I don't understand why people don't throw him on with one of the best keepers that we've seen in the Premier League for quite a while. Like I think this guy is going to go on to really dominate. You'll see it at the World Cup. I think Brazil are going to have a really good year at the World Cup, and I think that's when we may see the flowers for him. But
I
he's
think
been
obviously
phenomenal.
his defense, like, with the Van Dijk hype being
Yeah,
by far the best centre back in the world, it's always going to diminish what Alisson does. But for me, he's he's been by far the best keeper in the league for years now. Like, obviously
close
Edison
between him
wins.
and Courtois for last year of keeper of the
Yeah,
year.
Edison wins Golden Glove because obviously Man City just don't concede. But
Yeah,
Alisson has been the best keeper in the league for minimum
3-4
3
years.
years.
Yeah.
Yeah, minimum.
yeah,
He's
but
been great.
you know what the struggle thing is, and not just to praise Liverpool and stuff, but when you start to go back and you look at, I'm still not over the young player of the year with Saka. I'm really not, because when you're looking at it, who was the second best right wing? Um, I think in the Premier League, it had to be Saka. Like I genuinely don't see a shout for somebody else with his contributions and what they did for the team outside of Salah. I don't know who else had um, a better season at right wing. Could you argue Mahrez? No,
No,
I
you could.
don't think you could not. Sterling, you couldn't. I don't think he was really at right wing. I'm struggling to think Rafinha, who we're ironically linked with, didn't have a better season than Saka last year.
Bowen.
Bowen, again, like I'm very much struggling to understand who had a better season than him, and so it sucks that he didn't get the Young Player of the Year. But I would have accepted Trent. Trent had an incredible season, Liverpool wise. But another one that is probably very weird in terms of having a really, really good season, and I know it's a weird one because Everton did really poor, is Richarlison had a really good season last year. And it was more than just a relegation fight. I thought he did a lot last season in terms of stepping up, because I don't think he was ever somebody that made the right decisions in the final third. And I felt like he kind of tied it a little bit together last year. So he's a player that I'll be looking at, and there's obviously a lot of interest in him. I don't know if he's worth the price tag that is being mounted, but Richarlison definitely deserves a shout for one of the surprises of the season. I didn't expect him to be that good.
Okay, so I think we're gonna have to go into the table now. We've prolonged it enough. Whose prediction table do you want to look at first?
George, for sure.
There we go.
I got the actual one because the one. Okay, sorry, Karen.
No, it's fine.
But okay, so George, you predicted
Mm.
you predicted obviously Manchester City to win the league, Chelsea to finish second, and Liverpool third, and Arsenal fourth. You got Chelsea wrong,
Yeah.
and Liverpool wrong. What do you think? If you, or obviously in hindsight, you'd probably switch that. But what do you think you got wrong? The biggest. What's the
Pro-
biggest thing apart from Leeds?
Probably the Lukaku for sure. I didn't think he would have as good of a season as Serie A. I think even we were doing it, but I thought he would compete for Golden Boot, and that was the biggest difference. If Chelsea had any sort of finisher, I think this race would have been a lot closer, and that was really the difference. They couldn't score beyond Reece James and their
And
defenders
Mount.
and Mount scoring. So I think outside of that, it was horrible. I've said Leeds and Leicester were probably like the worst ones. The biggest thing with Leeds was probably injury related, but I think Leicester is one of the ones that I was really, really upset with. And then probably
Everton.
Southampton. I think Southampton is probably one of the worst ones. I felt that the Connor Armstrong and the Vestergaard signings would have really hurt them long term. And Vestergaard himself didn't have a very good season, with Leicester at all. So, yeah, I think Southampton is probably the worst one. And the Chelsea, I think everyone's going to be upset about Chelsea. I really think that Lukaku should have done more. Even at the worst, if he had an okay season, I think the point swings would have looked a lot different from different people. So, very much surprised at Lukaku.
And then obviously, I think obviously you didn't mention them, but Everton. You have them 10th, Everton
Yeah.
10th, and they just completely capitulated.
Everton's weird because you have the Frank Lampard effect. Like I said, once we knew that he came in the winter, I immediately changed. Yeah, they're going to be in a relegation fight. Like I don't rate Frank Lampard as a coach at all. So Everton's the weird one. Palace, Palace and Brentford? I'm happy with. I
No,
think
Palace finished 12th.
yeah, and so that's obviously really nice. Um, but yeah, and Dyche leaving, I didn't predict that he'd leave. Like you
Yeah.
know, um, I thought that Burnley would go down, but I always felt Watford had enough attacking potential. That's maybe one thing that is like a surprise. We talked about it on channels before. I've always felt that Watford had enough attacking potential to survive the fight, but ultimately they had way too many changes of managers. Like I wonder if they got Claudio Ranieri from the start and stuck with him through the season. Do you get this like merry-go-round? Because how many managers did they end up actually having in the end?
Watford, but the thing with
3.
Watford is
It
they
was
always do,
three.
yeah, 3. They always
But
do that though.
no, but has that happened where you've had three managers in a
They
season?
have, they have. They've
Like,
sacked the most. They've
like
sacked the most man. They're the only team. They've sacked the most managers in the past like decade, even more than Chelsea.
it's crazy. It's crazy. And so, yeah, I think that was it. And then Newcastle, I think there's probably another one that a lot of people didn't rate. But at the start, we didn't really know if they were going to get taken over or not. I think the big idea was that Mike Ashley was holding out. So, yeah, no, in general, I'm not too upset with this window or really this table. I think the biggest one is probably the Chelsea Liverpool for fans that are Liverpool fans. They'll probably be annoyed at that. But
The
I
ones
thought
you
that
got,
Lukaku would have done a little bit more. And look, us. Um, with being fourth or not. It was between 2 points. I remember specifically saying on the prediction table, top four would be decided by a couple points. It would be a couple point swing. So um, the fact that we didn't get it, it's annoying, and I think we've kind of digested that enough in previous videos. But United, even though doing as poor as they did, I don't think anyone thought that they would be as poor as they ended up being. We all thought that
I
they would
thought.
be poor, but didn't think that they would
I
be
didn't
that
think it'd
poor.
be. Well, I remember. I know. I remember saying between us and United, it wouldn't be close. But that was assuming that they'd be 5th. But I didn't think Spurs would be as good as they were. Um, I thought United would be a lot worse
Yeah.
than everyone else because just because I thought for a whole year prior to what they did, they were a rubbish team, and
Mm.
bringing in Ronaldo and what's his name, Ronaldo, Sancho, and Varane just made it even worse for me. For me, well, you got Man City spot on, you got Crystal Palace spot on, Brentford spot on, and Norwich spot on. I think every single person got Norwich spot on. Um, if you
Just
didn't,
all
If you didn't, I don't know what's going on, bro. You
yeah,
gotta
I don't
put
know.
you gotta put on both.
Obviously you got Burnley. Burnley was one away. Brighton was far. Brighton finished 9th.
yeah.
West Ham was 1 away. No, West Ham was 2 away actually. Spurs was 4 away. Leeds was obviously 10 away.
Yeah, Leeds is the big one, but Leeds had so many injuries, and I'm
Yeah.
interested to see like I,
Do you think they'll climb the table again next season?
they're looking at very good players, and I rate Jesse Marsh. I've said it for a while. I really like him as a coach, and if they get Charles de Ketelaere from Bruges as the striker
Yeah.
replacement,
You
and
need
then they
to
get it,
replace Phillips.
yeah, they need to replace Phillips smartly, and also, but they're going to get money, mate. Like they're getting what? What is the deal again for
50,
Phillips? 50.
45 plus 5.
Yeah, and then Rafinha around the same price, maybe an extra 5 or 10 million. So they've got about 100 million to spend, and it really just depends on what they do with that money. I haven't seen any links to who because I don't follow them as closely, obviously. But
Yeah.
I know Charles de Ketelaere is like the big rumored striker signing that they're looking to replace, and that's a phenomenal signing. A really great young player in that like Nunez mold where he isn't necessarily a center presence, but he's a big guy that likes to drift to the wings.
Yeah, he's got
Marco
very good
Lester
link
Phillips
up.
would be
He
solid
says.
from Bayern. That would be very solid replacement. I think they need a little bit more athleticism in there, um, but yeah, I think it all depends on the right wing that they're going to look to do and replace with, and
Yeah.
what they decide to do with that.
Okay, so I'll go for me next. Actually, I'll go for me. I haven't even seen mine. Okay, so I got Man City, Liverpool. Oh shit. Arsenal. After 35 games, obviously it's a 38 game season. After 35 games, I was so confident. You don't even understand. I was so confident, but and then obviously we collapsed. Apart from that, Leicester I thought would have a
I'm
better
telling
season
you, I
than me.
think Leicester's going to be the big one for everybody.
And then Southampton failed me. Oh no, they did good for themselves. I thought they'd get close to relegation. Wolves fell off. They were a top four team until we played them. When we played them like twice in 2 weeks, they were a top four team, and then they finished 10th. I think they finished. Yeah, Wolves finished 10th. So I don't know. I don't know what happened to them. Aston Villa won 14th, so I was pretty close with them. I thought everybody was. There were so many Europe shouts. It was scary. I oh god. I did predict from what date was it? The seventh of October. I predicted that Arsenal and the Warriors will win a title. One of two. That's pretty good for me. I think obviously we were good. Yeah, we were good to a certain extent. We fell off at the end, and it's poor
Now,
to
the,
fall
the
off at the
the
end.
best line from CK was Arsenal going to finish top four, and
Odd,
it won't be an odd
even
number,
number.
an even number. Sorry, that was
Yeah,
the line.
it was an odd number, but just outside, just outside the top four. It should have been. It should have been fine. Brentford, I was one place off. Obviously, I overestimated Palace, but from ninth to 13th was really a small swing. Ninth was 51 points, and Palace was 12th with
Those
48
always
points.
are, right? Like we kind of talked
It
about the
was
mini
literally a
leagues and
one win. Yeah,
yeah, you've got basically your relegation fight, and then you've got I call it the pre-relegation, those that kind of saved it, basically from what is it about 17th to 14th, and then from
yeah.
14th to
17th to
9th.
14th was a lot closer.
Yeah, and then from what 14th to 9th is like your kind of pre-Europe places, and then it's obviously post-Europe and Conference League up to the top four, and then the top three. And but look, we're gonna have a conversation next year about who the top three are going to be, and that's going to be very transfer window related for sure.
You know my answer. It's not changing this year. For me,
I'm going
Same,
with
same,
the
same,
CK top three.
same top four, Chris.
no. I'm not saying top four. Same top three.
Oh, okay, fair.
Same for me. Same top three as this. But
Oh, another prediction I actually made was Tuchel will get sacked, but obviously that was wrong. But the thing is, yeah, with Tuchel, I
Do you
thought
know,
he'd get
do
sacked.
you know how funny it is that you predicted Tuchel to get sacked, but it was Ibrahimovic that got sacked?
I got
Was
I
that
got
too
wrong. It
soon?
was a bit higher. And Marina left as well. Marina left sadly. I wish he stayed.
To be fair, though, aren't they linked to Michael Edwards? Um,
Yes, they are.
and that would be the signing of the summer. If Todd Bowley could somehow do that, that would be a scary thought because he seems to want to invest. But if you end up getting, I always am a big fan of getting proper sporting directors in, and I think it clears you if you have a manager that runs into trouble. And I always am a big fan of that. And it's actually the one thing that we have to give flowers for Edu, but it's not an Arsenal focused pod right now. But
Yeah.
the idea the backgrounds are really, really big for a lot of these clubs. Newcastle, the reason they're going to be doing so well, and I have confidence in them, is Dan Ashworth. It's not really Eddie Howe, it's Dan Ashworth. And I think, look, for us, I'm really confident in Mikel. I think I know what he knows what he's doing, and so he has a big say in it. But generally speaking, I think sporting directors are massively underappreciated in the game. So if they can get Michael Edwards in with the kind of backing and the initial squad quality that they have, then it's a serious concept to really start to fear.
Yeah, and on my list, I think the biggest hit was probably obviously Norwich had there was I think there
You
was
can't do Norwich.
no wait there was better odds. There was worse odds. Like if you're going to put betting money on it, it was like you would get less out of picking Norwich to finish 20th than Man City to win the league, which was crazy. But obviously Norwich were guaranteed to finish. It might be Brentford because they finished 13th with 1 point behind 12th. Obviously, I can't say Liverpool because they're the second best team in the league. So I think Brentford. No, West Ham is 1 point as well. West Ham and Brentford are probably my best ones. I think from this season. Brentford, even with the injuries, to finish 4 points from ninth and 5 points from eighth is very good season, considering how much Tony was injured. They got what's his name, Ericsson. The second half of the season, they didn't have him the whole season. Um, what's their keeper's name? Raya was injured as well. They had big injuries. De Silva was injured, so they had so many big injuries, and for them to finish so comfortably in the league is a big positive. And obviously, I was just wrong for third. Arsenal third is my wrong prediction. But after 35 games, it was looking very good. So I won't beat myself too much. But let's go into current because I think that's enough of me.
Can I get moved?
Oh
You
yeah.
ready?
Can I
Cool.
get moved? There we go. Yeah. You know what? I'm not too upset about this. I mean, I got the bottom three right. I didn't get the order right. Yeah,
You
Villa
put
will never
Norwich
finish top 10.
19th.
I did. I put Burnley bottom.
Jeez.
Yeah.
All faith.
The thing is, well, it hurts me to put them bottom because I have such a love-hate relationship with Burnley. I love Dyche. I just hate Burnley. Like the club of Burnley is just an awful club. But as like their manager and the way he sets up the team, I really, really actually quite like him. But yeah, in terms of the bottom three, I'm quite happy with. Top four nearly happened. We nearly got it, lads. We were so close. But yeah, it is what it is. I think again, for me, I think the biggest thing for me was probably Leicester, Leeds, and Everton, just like the rest of the boys. But yeah, Southampton being so high, I don't know. And obviously Newcastle.
I don't think we're
got
giving
to-
Brighton enough credit because they were pretty much top 10 the whole season.
Yeah,
Obviously they ended up
Brighton.
finishing
I think for me, Brighton's a pretty big one because they should have been much higher in this. But yeah, I think. Look, I'm not too displeased. I'm obviously displeased that this wasn't how it finished. But and what do you guys think? Where do you think the biggest things? I think for me, I think Leeds, Everton, and Leicester, for me, the big misses.
Leicester, Leeds, definitely the big ones.
I think Brighton is the big one.
Yeah,
Brighton.
Brighton.
Brighton and Wolves, because Wolves finished 10th and Brighton finished 9th. And you had them 15th and 16th.
Yeah, but honestly, no one knew about Lage. I didn't know much about Lage, so I remember even in the prediction video, I said I don't know anything about him, so I'm just going to put them quite low because.
And then Newcastle were a relegation team until Eddie Howe came in. So
I think actually your biggest benefit was probably Southampton. Both me and Chris felt that Southampton were going to be a lot worse than they were going to be, obviously, and Southampton were a lot clearer than really we thought. And Ralph Hasenhüttl deserves credit for doing it. I'm not a huge fan of the guy. I think his pressing leaves it an all or nothing approach. But I think maybe one of your bigger hits is probably going to be Tottenham being higher than what we felt that they were going to be. Not too bad of a table.
Southampton, they need to be careful because they concede so many goals. They conceded more goals than Burnley. They conceded more goals than Everton, who finished below them. All the teams above them conceded a lot less goals than them. And the way they play, they lost 4 of their last 5 games. The way they play is very risky, and they could go down next season. But obviously, I was wrong. I thought they'd go down this season. I wish they'd go down because they've not been that good with Ralph Hasenhüttl for a couple of years. This is the first year he didn't get a 9-0. So kudos to him. But on your list, I think the top 4 you pretty much got correct. You're the only one.
I mean, it should have been the one, but I know people are going to say, "Oh, well, it was you still they didn't finish top 4." But the thing is, I think even I remember doing the prediction table, and I had I predicted every game. I did one of those prediction tables at the beginning of the thing, and I had 74, 73, 72, 71, 70 from 4th to 8th. I had it very, very tight. It was always going to be very tight, and it was at the end of the day. And it shouldn't have been that. If we actually look at how the season went, I mean, we've already discussed at length that there was really a lot we could have done. We left a lot of points on the table, I feel, but it is what it is. At the end of the day, we've progressed a lot. and we need to keep moving forward as we are in the transfer market right now. So let's see what happens next year. But for this, I'm not too upset. I think Man United should have finished 7th, but they managed to sneak 6th at the end of the day. But having them 5th, I was happy with. I thought they would be good for 5th. They finished 6th. But the thing is, Leicester have to be in danger as well because they keep buying good players and not doing it. Patson Daka, I thought he'd do better than he did. Sumaro, we've all said.
He
I
was
mean,
honestly Rogers.
Yeah, Rogers. I don't know how he's surviving. I was praying that United went for him, but they didn't.
Who was everybody's kind of surprise signing of the season? Maybe looking at Arsenal's side, we'll do a specific because that's part of the predictions where
Mark Guehi was my. Oh, I won't speak about Arsenal. Forget Arsenal. Mark Guehi was my guy going into the summer. I thought he had a very good season at Swansea the year before, and I just thought he'd be very good for. And obviously, Olise is like a lot of people knew of him before. They didn't watch him a lot, but they knew he was a good player, so it wasn't too much. But not many people watched. Guehi and Gallagher I thought would do very well. So Guehi was mine. And for Arsenal, I think surprise. Obviously, after when I first heard the news, it's Ramsdale by far. Because when I first heard the news, I hated the deal. So Ramsdale was definitely the guy for me. And Ben White, I've been watching for years, so I knew he'd be good. But yeah, probably Ramsdale. I think that's the easy answer. Ramsdale and Guehi.
Yeah, I think like the biggest thing for me, Arsenal wise, would probably have to be Tomiyasu. I know I predicted he'd be probably the best price to quality ratio signing of the summer for us, but to be fair, I think Tommy gave us a level of control that we really lost without him. And if he stays fit, I think it's a very different story. I think Tomiyasu won an incredible amount of aerial duels, and he showed a level of versatility that I always knew that he had, but I don't think we got to see enough of. And I think he's a very important player for us going forward. So, I think he lines up for me as probably my biggest surprise. I had a lot of faith in him, but I didn't realize he'd do that well as he did. I think Ramsdale, I was one of the very few on Twitter that was very happy about that deal. So I was happy that he did well. To be fair, he was one of the top 5 keepers for us going from September to March, and then he kind of fell off ever since that hip injury. And then Ben White, as earlier in the prediction show, knew that he would do really, really well. Martin Odegaard, I think, had a mixed season. I think he did excellently from, I would say, when the team was doing well between, December until March, he was doing well. And then outside of those, he struggled, to impose himself on specific game states, whether it was a physical side or whether it was an away side. So he had a little bit of ups and downs as a season, but a very good season from him. Did some things that we critiqued him for last season not doing, but started to show, like overlapping a little bit more, which is always very good. But we'll see how he does with proper competition. Fabio Vieira, who we've talked about, at length in the other transfer pods. So that's one to do. And I think the last one's Lukonga and Nuno. We kind of talked about maybe the mishaps of that. But maybe another really good one was who was another really good signing that I think did really, really well in the league, I'll say.
Oh, in the league.
Who
did well?
Who did well as a new signing in the league? I'll have to think about that one.
Kulusevski was rated highly.
Do you mean Cornet? Is that who you mean?
Cornet, to a certain extent.
Yeah, I think Yo-Yo. Yeah, you mean Cornet?
I think you mean Cornet. Yeah.
Obviously, the Palace boys did well.
Yeah.
Olise, Gallagher.
Olise didn't have a chance really to shine, did he? Like I feel as though if Olise had more minutes, we'd be singing a lot more praises. It'd be a lot more clear, and for no real reason. I think Vieira was just very tempered to introducing him that quick. To be honest with you.
Edouard was poor.
Yeah,
considering all the hype, he was very poor considering all the hype he got before the season started. What's his name? Oh, what is that guy's name for Brighton?
Mbeumo was excellent
Mwepo, I think, was very good.
Mwepu is the guy I was thinking about. Right.
I think at the beginning
that
of
would
the
probably
season,
be mine in the league.
Yeah.
That would probably
I
be
think
mine.
at the beginning of the season, I think we all said, I think the biggest like turnaround for me was Ramsdale. I think from when we were linked, I hated it. When we signed it, I was on board. I was 100% behind it. But I think that's in terms of Arsenal. I think that's probably the best like surprise or shock signing in terms of the league. There's a couple. I mean, you hate to say it, but Kulusevski, no one thought he'd be good, but he turned out to be decent. I mean, he had the guys to assist to as well. I think Cucurella was good. Ericsson, someone's mentioned. Yeah, he was very good. Who else? I think in terms of disappointment, it has to be Varane, surely. I mean, that guy was meant to be a Champions League title-winning centre back, and he's not played. And when he has played, he has made mistakes. So, for me, I think he's got to be one. Obviously, in terms of the obvious ones, Lukaku, and that was probably one of the worst transfers. Sancho.
Ericsson was a good signing. I forgot about that.
Ericsson was a very good sign. I mentioned Ericsson, yeah. But in terms of most surprising that no one saw coming, I think Mitchell, maybe. I think Mitchell has been very decent, very, very good.
Mitchell, he was already there.
No, but like in terms of stepping up, like no one, like most improved, like forget the signing, most improved. I think no one saw Mitchell, and then he kind of just went. He's now a very, very decent left back. But in terms of signing, let's see. I think probably Cucurella for me. I think Cucurella is one of the better left backs in this league now, and no one really rated him coming in.
Yeah, so obviously we saw the tables. Everyone got some good aspects to their table. George got Palace and Brentford completely correct. Curran got the bottom three correct and the top three correct. I had some in there. But apart from that, I think the predictions is always hard to predict mid-table because with the managers changing so much, there's like I didn't like Dyche left, Bielsa left, Lampard came in, Ranieri came in. Who else came in? Eddie Howe came in. Like so many players, so many different managers, so many different players. Like Newcastle spent so much in January. Like they got Trippier, they got Matt Target, they got Dan Burn, they got a couple signings in Bruno G. They got a lot of players. So there was just so many changes that it couldn't account for going into the season. But apart from that, I think overall, the season, I think I had good predictions. What do you guys think you do? I think I had good predictions overall this season. Apart from Arsenal third, all my predictions are pretty much correct.
What do we think about your predictions in general, or just predictions overall?
Overall, what do you think? How do you think your predictions for the?
I think we all did decent.
To be fair, I think on a lot of the big things, on a lot of like the clippable moments, if you say, the ESR have average shouts, the Varanes, the big talk. I mean, the big ones, Arsenal talk. We were like the only channel that was really big into that happening, and in the end, it was a 2-point swing and a 2-point difference. And ultimately, I think the aggressiveness that we've shown in the market right now is kind of a response to that, which is all that we really needed to look for. We did a big job clearing the decks kind of in January, and this idea that Arsenal saved wages and then we're going to have a big summer. Well, we're having it. And so it kind of makes sense in terms of some of the windows. But I think that was probably one of the bigger predictions that we were known for the channel and fell short of ultimately, for whatever reason or another. I kind of think we dissected that well. But overall, in terms of some of the big things, I think the biggest calls were how some of the big teams were going to do. I think we did really well to talk about that. The only one is Lukaku. I think Lukaku has a shout for being one of the worst transfer outcomes that I've seen from a big club. Like this guy's got major moves. He's like a very expensive Morata in terms of how he's been able to go from top teams.
Well, we're talking about Lukaku.
And he's
what is worse? Yeah, just in a vacuum. Which is the worst piece of business, Pogba or Lukaku?
No, Lukaku by far. Like Pogba's still quality. Don't get it twisted.
Pogba was 93, and when Pogba was 93 million, it wasn't
That's what I'm saying.
He was before like
I
Dembele.
Lukaku as well because they managed to win something with Pogba and they got a couple of years of very good service out of him. But the amount of destruction that's happened in that locker room, I don't know if it's on him. I don't know who it's on. There's obviously a lot of
We know it's on him.
background
Sure, he made an
shenanigans at
interview
that
with an
club.
Italian journalist saying he wanted to leave in the middle of the season. It's 1,000% on him.
Yeah. No. I'm talking about Pogba. I'm talking about Pogba. Not
Oh,
Lukaku.
Pogba? No, I think that's definitely on who he's had to surround himself with and the type
Yeah,
of coach
exactly.
that he's
So
had ultimately.
there's a lot of shenanigans going on. Obviously, Lukaku is crying now. He's getting back to Inter. I mean, come on, lad. You got it's a madness. But
But it's crazy that deal. Sorry, that's started. That deal. He got 100 mil, then went back on loan the next year as a 29-year-old, which is
that's
crazy.
mad.
It's crazy to go on, especially
I
to
mean,
be
the
the
other
main.
one is Sancho scoring less than Gabriel. I mean, that's madness.
This is a big reason why I felt that Villa would do well as well with Beal. I really believed in him as a coach, and
He's gone.
Yeah, he's going to Ipswich, I think.
Yeah, which is a madness. Like I don't know how they fare then beyond that. But I thought one last question that we could maybe end on with everybody in the comments that I think would be really good is you guys let us know, everybody's here, what was maybe your best or your worst predictions. And maybe we can have like a very early type of prediction from the boys here for next season. What's your kind of out there early prediction? Maybe it doesn't have to be Arsenal related, but just in general with the season and stuff for going into next season with basically a big World Cup year. We've got a lot of stuff going, so you can even do a little World Cup prediction if you wanted. But what's your big out there prediction that you're making very nice and early?
You go first, Chris.
No, look, I don't have mine. Obviously, I'm all for outlandish early predictions, but I haven't thought about one yet.
I have one. I can go.
Go.
Yeah,
Arsenal finished top 3. Chelsea finished 5th.
I don't think that's too outlandish,
No, that's not outlandish. That's just very reasonable. No,
but to us it's reasonable. To everyone else, it's like, what the hell are you saying? Chelsea outside the top 4? Are you mad? Nah.
No, actually, I've got Newcastle finishing in the top 6 for me.
Wait, George. That means you have like United, Spurs, Arsenal, Chelsea outside. I know which one you have, but
okay. United won't finish top 6. United won't finish top 6.
I think Newcastle finish in the top 6. That's my big prediction. I think that they're going to have a phenomenal season next year. I think Dan Ashworth's not done, and I actually think that they may get Moussa Diaby done, and that's a scary front three. If they can somehow keep,
I need them to get my boy Hugo Ekitike. Obviously, I've been talking about him all season, so I want Newcastle to get Hugo, just because I want him in the Prem. Obviously, he's a bit skinny to hold himself up in the Prem.
He's very skinny.
He's a special talent. I've been talking about him for a year now.
You put me on him.
Yeah, I spoke about him to that guy at the bottom one time. About him being like, obviously, any French pacey striker, immediately the comparisons are either Anelka or Henry. And I think
he is very Anelka though.
Yeah, I think he's more Anelka than Henry, but Henry's the easy comparison because he's just the best French striker ever. So yeah, I think he's going to be a great signing if Newcastle can get him. I think they could do better than Botman, but Botman is better than what they have. So he'll be a good signing. I think Diaby will probably be a transformative signing for them because they haven't had a proper right winger since Ben Arfa.
Well, proper outlet like that. Like I've not.
Balances their front line. They have an outlet. They have a 1v1 demon, and they have a physical centre forward. It's a perfect balance of profiles. It's very good business for them if they can.
So your outlandish one is Newcastle to finish 6th.
I need United to finish 8th. I don't care what anyone else. I need for the poetry, for the amount of bullshit we took for finishing 8th.
I don't. Yeah, I don't think that it's going to be a great season for them in general. But
they still haven't. They're not going to get a DM.
Bro, they're going to play. They're going to play a midfield 3. I'm telling you right now.
No, the biggest thing though,
McTominay, Van der Beek, and Frankie De Jong. That's going to be their midfield 3.
Here's another outlandish claim I think for the transfer window. I think Spurs and United will battle it out for the crown for the worst summer at the end of the transfer window. So in terms of who they believe that they would be going in with and who they ended up with, I still think
I don't
Spurs
think
will end up winning that crown of having the worst transfer window of the traditional top six. But I think United's job is going to be a lot bigger than a lot of fans think. And
How do we think United's midfield's going to end up at the end of the season, at the end of the summer?
probably
Frankie de Jong, I think, is going to be the only addition that they're going to make.
Which is the point I'm going to make. It's going to be a Frankie de Jong, Donny
replacing
van de
Pogba,
Beek, and
essentially is what you're going to get.
I'm so happy Malcolm is not going there. Malcolm Abiyawa is going Palace. I think it will be a good addition.
I don't think this is outlandish at all. Like I think it's guaranteed.
I think honestly, he would be my sack race candidate if I was to make one.
I think. I don't. If Abramovich was still at the helm, I'd say Tuchel gets.
Yeah,
I would have said
this is actually very, very funny. Going from Bremer, and weren't they after Gvardiol as well?
Yes.
And Bastoni. No, I'm not even going to attempt pronunciation. But yeah, I think this is going to be a key part of their window too. Like I think they're going to want to go for Richarlison, and I don't think they'll get them. Like
he's not their first choice though. Jesus was the versatile forward they wanted.
Well, that's done now. But I think even Richarlison, who's their second choice, I think goes to Chelsea. Like I have this feeling that Chelsea will get both Sterling and Richarlison.
And Ronaldo apparently. So
Ronaldo would be funny. Ronaldo would be funny. But
so man would have been who gets sacked, but I don't know.
Okay, here's a quick question. We can do a quick roundtable. Who wins the top 6 transfer crown and who loses the most? I've already said Spurs for me. It'll be between Spurs and United, but I think Spurs will do worse. And I think we're going to have the best window again. I think people are going to look at us and say we've had the best window overall. I think
Arsenal have the best, and United
might. If you're really being honest, I think Man City probably creak it because they've got Holland, Alvarez, Phillips, and Cucurella is going to be confirmed as well. And I have a feeling they do something outlandish as a winger.
What is your answer, George? Arsenal or Manchester City?
Oh, City. City are going to end up having the better transfer window overall. You can't outlook it. I think they get a major signing in the mold of a Neymar or a Rafael Leao. To replace Sterling and Gabriel Jesus.
If we get Lau, okay, buy BOP. This is just. What's the point? What's the point if they get Lau? If they get Lau, there's no point of a league anymore. What's the point? What are we doing?
If they get Lau, they'll still have Rodri in the midfield, and they'll still have.
They have Phillips now. Phillips is decent.
Yeah, they still have Laporte. Anyways, they're probably going to win the league. For me, my outlandish, I'll just say it would probably be Tuchel to get sacked if Todd Bowley's like Abramovich, which he probably won't be.
We don't know enough about Todd Bowley to make that claim, though. That's the thing.
And then United would lose the window. Oh, in fact, no. Liverpool did early business with like Carvalho and Nunez. I don't think they signed anyone else.
Ramsey they signed, I think.
Yeah, Ramsey got signed as well. Ramsey, Carvalho, Nunez.
That's it.
Yeah.
They need a midfielder.
They need another. Well, we took their midfielder.
They need an attacker as well.
Yeah.
Minamino and Mane have left. So they're lacking in attackers. And
wait, so who's your loser then?
Manchester United.
United.
And then I'm not too high on our business as much as other people. So probably Man City to win just because of the name factor. How much was Alvarez? I don't even remember.
Peanuts. It wasn't a very big deal.
And then Haaland was the release clause, and
Cucurella's what, 50? Probably.
Yeah, well, at 50, they're not going to budge.
Calvin Phillips is another 50.
50 as well, yeah. And then hopefully Kyle Walker's not fit again.
That's not a bad prediction. Jared getting sacked.
Interesting. We'll get less than 5 Prem goals next year.
Who's doing Diaz from
outlandish? I totally forgot. Okay, I think Eddie Nketiah is going to get between 10 to 15 EPL goals and assists in his first season at Arsenal.
Outlandish.
That's not outlandish. Outlandish is what I'm going to say is Eddie Nketiah will be in the Golden Boot race. I think he's going to be.
Wait. What determines the golden boot race?
I mean, as
Golden
in like the
Boot.
Prem Golden Boot race, as in like.
I know, but
20
where does it have to be?
I
Top 5, 3.
Yeah,
top five, yeah,
Top five.
top 5.
I'll give him that.
Okay. I think race will be subjective because the fifth
That's-
I
person.
think he'll get between 18 to 20 goals in the league next season.
No, I don't think so.
That's
But
Eddie.
I'll
think he
definitely.
gets 18 to 20.
I'm in the
In
10
the
to
league.
15 camp.
In the league.
Damn.
18
You know how
to
many
20.
players? Do you know how many players do that? It's very rare.
I know. No, but this is the thing. I believe in that kid. I think he can do it. I think he can do it. I
Curran
think he can
closed
do
his
it.
eye.
And
Yo, I don't know if anybody caught that, but Curran sat there, closed his eyes, and said, "I believe."
I believe. I believe he can do it, man.
No,
18 to
I
20.
think 10 to 15 is a very good expectation for him.
I think, look, in terms of what I think in terms of winning and losing, I agree with George. City win, United
George
just
is
quite
mad.
easily are losing. We've got people. I've been sent me things on WhatsApp, like people saying that United fans are actually just saying that Rafinha is going to be the right winger, so Saka can revert back to left back. The copium is beautiful. I love it. Just continue
Everyone,
with it.
one thing that's annoying me
Funny.
before we go, one thing that's annoying me is that so many other fans are just watching other people's business. Like, obviously, Spurs have done okay business. They should look at what their team
Have
needs.
they?
Yeah, Perisic is a good deal for what their team
Basuma's
needs.
a good deal. Like even if he is,
Perisic and Basuma, I think Perisic and Basuma is good. Are good deals for the start of it was still not even in July yet. So for them to be saying, "Oh my," like I saw someone say, a Spurs fan said, regardless of what we do this summer, if Arsenal get Rafinha, whatever we do is nonsense. Like, it won't mean anything. And statements like that, I just think are complete stupidity.
Before we go, last one I'll say, Lisandro Martinez will be a better signing than any other signings we make this season. I feel like he'll change how we play. If we do sign him, it will change how we play, and it will really improve. Give us reinforce what structure we've talked about off stream in terms of having 2 inverted fullbacks in the 2-3-5. It will really change what we do. And I think that's a massive deal if we can get it done. I think that he's going to be one of the best signings we make, and he will be so crucial because we need that for 2 seasons in a row now. We've had problems at left back.
That's easy one because every year there is one.
Yeah, I don't think there will be one either. I agree. But yeah, Lisandro Martinez is probably our signing this season.
But I don't know. Of all the rumored signings, Gabriel Jesus will have the biggest impact for me. And
I don't think so. I think that our front line is so versatile, and it's going to be so. He's going to be on the left. He's going to be on the right. He's going to be in the middle. I think that in terms of like replicable,
he's produced from all them positions.
You know what I mean? Like he's. I think that really, if you're looking at what we can do going forward and how, in terms of changing the structure of our team, Martinez does so much more than what Jesus would do because we have a very similar profile.
No, I don't agree because I think with our attack, the biggest thing that we lacked is someone that consistently attacks space. I think we've got defenders at the back that can regularly switch play. I think Martinez is phenomenal. I think he becomes our second best technician outside of Fabio Vieira. But ultimately, in terms of what he adds to the team, is we have a level of defensive solidity and people that can switch play very quick. Ben White does it quite regularly. We've got Tomiyasu. We've got Aaron Ramsdale, who hits people really long. Like
Saliba now.
We got Saliba. Like we have many players that can, and that's actually something that Mikel has clearly recruited. We've recruited 2 touchline options, and we've recruited players that can switch play very quickly. Like we're going to see a lot of that mechanism that we saw with the FA Cup back, that little switch off to David Luiz, isolation up top. We're going to see that spammed with these touchline options for sure. But I think Gabriel Jesus, in terms of what he brings to the front line, we have a lot of combination players. We don't have somebody with absolutely elite movement that attacks space very aggressively. That's one thing that we really lacked last season. And look, I would have much rather had somebody with more central presence like Victor Osimhen, but I think Gabriel Jesus gives you a lot of those movement criteria and the aggressive attacking of space with pressing. I think we now have probably one of the most pressy front threes. that you could field in theory. You could have Martinelli, Gabriel Jesus. You could have, if
Nketiah,
Rafinha
so-
gets through, Rafinha's top notch for off the ball work as well. Like, not only are they touchline
the
options,
best.
but they're touchline options that will not stop running. And look, Gabriel Jesus can absolutely play in the middle, but when he does play in the middle, he doesn't stay in the middle. He drifts out wide. So you're getting a player that has elite movement. But yeah, for me, it's Gabriel Jesus.
I think now we're getting into the
Transfer
stuff.
transfer stuff. So yeah,
Call it.
I think we'll end it there. Obviously, we'll be back once or twice next week, maybe 3 or 4. 5. If we make 3 signings, we'll be back 5 times next week. So,
But guys,
we'll
just
be
thank
we'll
you
be
for all the
back
engagement as well. Yeah, thank you for all the engagement. Appreciate. I know we had the my video that came out, and we had some copyright issues, and I think we've released it again. We released it again, right, for the members. We've released it again for the members. So if you do want to watch that, join if you can. If you can't, it's fair enough. But I've got a video talking about Man City's 13-14 season with Manuel Pellegrini that hopefully hasn't been copyrighted this time. But look, we're back. We're doing more things. We're gonna try and get things going once again. And big season coming up. Big predictions coming up. We're gonna talk transfers on the transfer space next week. We're gonna try and finalize when that will be. I think it'll be Monday or Tuesday, but we'll talk off stream and let you know. We've got we're going to be recording a youth academy pod, especially for you to come out next weekend, and signings are going to come. We'll talk about them, and we're going to move on and get into preseason soon. So things are going to happen quickly. So follow the boys on Twitter at CK Football, at George V _AFC. Follow the Twitter at BAP Footy. Follow the Instagram at Ball of a Passion. You know the rest. And we'll see you soon. So thank you guys. And
yeah.
bye now.
Oh, forgot.
Yeah, there you go.
I forgot to outro it. But yeah, I want to say one last thing before we end. Yeah, someone I forgot who it was. Yeah, but someone in the comments told me the Boston Celtics were gonna beat the Warriors. You are wrong. Yeah, I know this is not about basketball, but you are wrong. Yeah, that's why there's 4 rings.
This guy, man. I did an outro and everything.
Like, comment, share, subscribe, and we'll be back next week. Peace.
Peace.